Always a little more on the line once we round the bend to the second week of the Australian Open, and day 8 was no exception today. Taylor Fritz punching his ticket into the quarterfinals for the first time in Melbourne. Welcome, Josh Eagle, back to the AO show. This match was intense in that first set. The final result 7-6, 5-7, 6-3, 6-3.
Yeah, look, it was an awesome match. I thought this was a good matchup for Taylor Fritz. I think just when you look at their games individually, I think he matches up really well against Stefanos, and again, the result probably proved that. He targeted a lot straight into the backhand all day of Stefanos, and he just came a little unstuck. Question marks for me over Stefanos, how fit he is. Hasn't played a lot of matches, and yeah, I mean, it's the Australian Open's really hard to peak for, and I find it a bit of a sprint when you only got a couple of weeks leading in, and then the Australian Open's here upon us. Given the significance of the points, the prize money, and the prestige of a Grand Slam, I think the Australian Open is the hardest one to peak for, and I think he was found wanting out there today.
Well, Dylan Wood is back with us on the AO show from the Game Insight Group. Dylan, what insights can you provide from the match today?
Yeah, well, I think we always knew this was going to be a battle of the serves. You know, we have two great servers. There's been a fair bit of discussion this year around Tsitsipas changing his serve up. And today, Fritz was really beat him in every category of the serve. He was averaging 203 kilometres to Tsitsipas's 197 kilometres. He won 86% of the points behind his first serve, whereas Tsitsipas only managed 76. And actually, in that first set, Fritz didn't lose a single point behind his first serve. He went 26 out of 26. So as far as the tournament goes, that's the highest Fritz has been in all of those categories so far.
Yeah, I think also the second serve was the difference today as well. But I thought Taylor Fritz, his percentage of points won on a second serve was a lot higher than Stefanos, just due to the location and the quality of second serve. So I think given his maybe back injury or reluctance to really go for it, I think that probably came into it a little bit as well.
Yeah, especially as the match wore on, you got the sense that Tsitsipas wasn't running for the same amount of balls he could get to in the first set. And Dylan, let's talk about court position as well, because we've seen a very aggressive brand of tennis from Fritz today.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think this links really well to the point on second serve. In the short rallies today, Taylor Fritz was all over them. He was 189 against Tsitsipas's 74, so he really had him covered. He was stepping inside the baseline. Behind his first serve, he was getting on that forehand 75% of the time, and 96% of the time he got to his forehand, he was hitting it inside the baseline. So he was really looking to take the time away and get on top of the point nice and early. He hit nearly 35% of his shots from inside the baseline and was far ahead of Tsitsipas in terms of taking the ball on the rise.
This is a maiden top 10 win for Taylor Fritz after 11 previous attempts in slams. Is this the best we've seen the American play here in Melbourne?
I think he's been pretty impressive, and I think today is one of the, again, and I've sort of alluded to it, I think it's one of those matchups where you come up against someone in the draw. They haven't played a lot against each other, but of course they know each other's games well, and I just think he liked his chances for so many reasons, and I think that gave him confidence. And look, I think he's getting better as each match has gone on. I've been lucky to call a lot of his matches this week, and he's dangerous. He's very dangerous. His game's so big. He's got weapons. His serve and his return are so good. And then hunting the forehand, like that first stroke, is also impressive. So for me, I like his chances.
Well, next up is Novak Djokovic. So Dylan, what sorts of things will Taylor have to do well to match it with the world number one?
Well, I think Taylor has to keep his aggressive approach going. You know, today he was able to generate a lot of winners off his own strings, and if he's going to beat Novak, he's going to have to do that. You know, he was able to hit 50 winners today in 4 sets, which was a tremendous effort. And one thing that was super impressive was his movement as well. He actually doubled the number of sprint efforts that he normally averages in a match. So that was showing that he's moving extremely well. He's getting to a lot of balls, and I think he's going to have to do that against Novak if he wants to have a chance. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think his stats today were 50 winners and 19 unforced errors, if I remember correctly. And
spot on.
It was, they're the sort of numbers that you're going to have to produce to push Novak or even have a chance. Look, I think it's fair to say Novak hasn't been at his absolute best, but he's the master of getting better and peaking as the tournament goes along. So Novak, no doubt, will be up for this one. Look, I just think you can't go out there and play Novak and think you're going to beat him in 10 or 12 stroke rallies. You have to keep the rallies short. You have to keep it, have to push Novak around and make it really uncomfortable physically for him, because the longer the rallies go, Novak's going to dominate that battle, and I just think he's too good physically over 5 sets. So I'll be really fascinated to see what his game plan is and how he tries to dismantle the greatest player of all time, almost serve 2 first serves at a time. I think he will come out with something different.
Okay, looking forward to that one on day 10. Turning our spotlight to day 9, and we will see a lady by the name of Linda Nosková take on Elina Svitolina. Their paths to the 4th round have been very contrasting. Noskova defeating Marie Buzkova in the 1st round, Iga Swiatek, Josh, in the 3rd round in an incredible piece of tennis.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was simply amazing. And got out there, played a decent first set and lost at 6-3, and then we probably all figured Swiatek was going to go on and win it in straight. That was not the case. Changed her tactics a little bit. She started to use her backhand down the line a little more, which was really effective, going hard and fast into that forehand of Iga, which is so extreme. So that was a great play, and I just thought for a 19-year-old, her awareness to make immediate change in a match was really a mature effort. And I thought the big difference last night was the serve. She hit her targets, hit her spots, was aggressive when she needed to be, and Swiatek just didn't serve well enough, and that was the difference, because Linda was just able to really attack Iga's second serve. So she's 19, she's got a huge future.
Yeah, I think absolutely. You touched on the difference between the first and second set. I think Noskova has been very strong on serve the whole tournament. She's winning 73% of points on her first serve. The problem was in the first set against Swiatek, she only made 53%, whereas in the second and third set, she was able to get that number up around 70% and really turn that game around. So for me, if she can get that same number up against Svitolina, she's going to go a long way.
Yeah, I think she's be favourite. I mean, that's just me personally. I think she's got a big game. So and we know Svitolina's a great athlete and moves well. And it's interesting seeing Svitolina now in the second part of her career after giving birth. She's a lot more aggressive. She's going for her shots. Whereas previously she liked to use her athletic ability and play these long grinding rallies, which of course she can do. But I suspect Noskova might just have too much firepower and might be favoured in that match.
The young blood coming from Linda Nosková in this battle. What about, Dylan, the battle between Noskova's serve and Svitolina's return?
Yeah, well, I think Svitolina is a fantastic returner, and she's not afraid to go a little bit further behind the baseline. She takes a lot of balls in the rally and on return of serve from more than 2 metres behind the court, and she's got quite a heavy forehand as well, so she doesn't lose any depth of shot there or weight of shot. So I think it'll be a real question of who can win that battle, and can Noskova keep up those unreturned. She's going at 40% unreturned on the first serve, So if she can keep that number up, I think it's going to be really tough for Svitolina to win. But if Svitolina can get her down to around 20%, because Svitolina currently is making 90% of her returns in the tournament, I think it'll be a really interesting game.
Yeah, that was the one thing that Swiatek didn't do well last night. She didn't adjust her position on returning. She stayed up on that baseline, and I think there was question marks over that. And you're right. I think Svitolina, she does stand back a little and buys a bit of time by doing that. So I think that'll be important, where she does a good job of getting that ball back in play and then gives herself a chance in the rallies. That was obvious last night that Iga didn't do that. So, yeah, it's going to be a fascinating contest. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute cracker. Well, I like to put our panel on the spot and just get a prediction for this one. So I want a winner and a set score, maybe starting with you, Dylan.
I think Noskova's got this in straight sets.
I'm tipping Linda as well, and I think 3 sets. I think it'll be 6-3 in the third.
Wow.
A tight battle, but I think she'll just have too much firepower.
The experts are picking the Czech team. Come back tomorrow to find out the result of that and all the latest from day 9 of the Australian Open. And to hear this episode in full, simply search for The AO Show wherever you get your podcasts and make sure to subscribe.